higher converting your marketing budget is going to be. We're going to examine proven digital marketing tactics. So again, I'll be sharing data-backed strategies and tactics today, and how they can increase traffic to your website. We're going to discover why integrating your CRM is pivotal, okay? Whether it's industry specific or you're using Salesforce or something like that, we have noticed that the sales cycle has actually accelerated during COVID-19. So a lot of people think that seniors are putting off the decision, or the adult child is extending home care for longer. That is not the case. We've actually seen a decrease in the sales cycle from initial inquiry to move-in. So let's discover how the CRM is the pivotal component there, and the call tracking technologies that can help you close at a higher rate on any inquiries or leads you do have. And then we're going to discuss why COVID-19 is accelerating this inevitable switch towards digital marketing and the technology solutions for senior living communities. So let's realize that your website, your own website, not a third-party lead aggregator, not any other site, is the foundation of your digital marketing strategy. And hopefully that resonates as obvious to you. But again, in this industry, I've seen it be an afterthought. I've seen your own websites be a source of underinvestment. I've seen cookie cutter templates from large scale providers. Your website is by far the most valuable marketing asset you have. It can generate millions of dollars in revenue, multiple admissions per day, week, or month. And so all of your other digital marketing is going to convert through your own website. It is a force multiplier. It is the equivalent of multiple sales and marketing professionals. And think about the cost. What would you invest in 2 or 3 full-time, highly effective marketing and salespeople? And are you investing that in your digital marketing? It can be more effective. So you not only need to provide education and motivate visitors to actually contact you, we call that call to action, but it enables you to precisely track these leads. And so you guys really, as an industry, for the first time, instead of building a beautiful building and having an audience come to you, you now need to do two-way dialogue-based marketing. And so you have to track these conversations and these leads and be highly efficient. So this website is going to allow you, to have a platform that is cost effective, okay? You can convert more and more and more inquiries through the internet at a pretty fixed cost. It can only do all of this if seniors and their adult children can find it. So that organic SEO strategy I mentioned, we're going to talk about that and a variety of other ways you can leverage it. My graphic here is actually very specific. So our seniorlivingcommunitywebsite.com. I cannot tell you, and I want you to all look at your websites after this today, how many of you have a page on your site called services? Just like every oil change place and anyone that provides services of any kind, okay? You provide senior living services, senior care services, assisted living, memory care, okay? Skilled nursing. So a lot of you are guilty of not having the terms that a consumer is actually searching for, ready to spend money, ready to make a decision, ready to move, okay? And you don't even have those words on your website, or you're using abbreviations, okay? We all know what a SNF is and ALs and ILs and all that, but most people don't. The average Joe is still typing in nursing home. They're not typing in CCRC. And so your website needs to be a little bit more retail. I challenge you all to take one full step closer to retail and actually name your pages and label your content using the terms senior living and senior care. My example pages here are Senior Living My City, so Senior Living Columbia, Maryland, Senior Living Blog. And then as you navigate the site, your actual content sections and graphics shouldn't just say facility tour. It should say, check out the lifestyle and amenities at our senior living community. Now you got to use the keyword one more time, and Google loves that. And your potential residents love that. They're trying to find you and they're trying to get answers. So these clear, I'm going to say retail labels, are really crucial to success. So look at your website and find out, first of all, would it work on you? Is it compelling marketing with lots of educational materials and strong call to action? And second of all, are you even using the words that someone would search for and trying to find you? And most of you are not. Most of you are guilty of this. So let's talk about your website and its search engine ranking. This is kind of, again, we're talking about trending and general concepts, and then I'm going to get into the tactics so you can do these things. So just like me, all of you, for any search and any consumer purchase, about 93% of the time are going to go to Google and just type something in. And that is completely true of this industry, and how even, again, your average octogenarian is still going to go to Google to search for this. Senior communities near me. Okay, Google knows where you are. They know what you're looking for. And so your website success is going to be dictated by its ranking. How high does it show up in those search results? The paid ads in senior living only get 17% of the clicks. So that chunk of 4 search results at the top that say ad next to them, and it's pay per click, that's only getting 17% of the actual clicks. Just like you, the average American consumer knows that those are paid ads, and they're going to scroll down to either the map-based local search results, which we will talk about, or the organic non-paid ad results. It's a trust factor. So your website, when it gets found, it needs to be easy to navigate. That's a ranking factor, okay? It needs to be mobile friendly, if not mobile first. More than half of your web traffic, and for many of you, closer to 70 or 75%, is going to be engaging you through a smartphone. Not just a phone, a smartphone. Google changed their entire search algorithm to show mobile first search results well over a year ago. So however you rank on the phone and whatever the experience is on a phone for a user, the higher you will rank, the better that is. Well-written content. All of you are guilty of under-publishing content. You need to be blogging frequently, posting articles about wellness and lifestyle. Your pitch is one that combines hospitality and medical care, okay? Not unlike a university, right? Yes, you're going to attend the university for certain programs and amenities and facilities, but you're also going to live there and eat the food that they serve and interact with the staff that they have. So this decision is a lifestyle and wellness decision, and your hospitality pitch cannot be your only pitch, and the medical pitch cannot be your only pitch. You need to find that balance. And Google will see the relevancy of that content. So if you have content about assisted living and memory care, your site can also rank for Alzheimer's search terms, that kind of a category, as long as it's in your content. Your website needs to be seen as reliable by other authoritative websites. And I'm going to use the term backlinking, but however many other websites that link back to yours, the more credible it will be. So you need to actually be publishing content on other websites. You need to be leveraging strong directory tools. And that is going to help your website to be more authoritative and rank higher search results. It needs to be actually optimized for search engines. So there's actual technical web development that needs to occur on your website. And so again, if you're using a template or a theme or something like that, you're probably under leveraging that. And so the lead aggregators and large advertising groups are going to outperform you for your own name and your own local search results. That can be remedied very quickly by just using SEO best practices. So above all, your website ranking is determined by how well you do this one thing, local SEO. Hyperlocal SEO has been the pivotal key to any of our clients that are succeeding during COVID, that are actually seeing increases or even reducing any decreases in move-ins. It's all coming from hyperlocal search. And by that, I mean an actual search on Google that includes a geographic keyword. So I am in the Baltimore metropolitan area, but I'm actually in Columbia, but I'm actually in Ellicott City, and I actually live in the Centennial neighborhood, right? So I could type in any one of those search terms, and whoever ranks number one is likely to get my click. And so that geography, that localized search, is actually a higher converting search as well. You'll get more move-ins that way. It's how your audience finds you, and it directly ties to your Google My Business profile, okay? You'll get more Google My Business inquiries for free if you rank higher in local search results, and vice versa. 46% of all Google searches have local intent. It either says near me or specifically names the area. We've seen 150% growth in near me search terms versus traditional search terms for locally based searches. So realize that that's the rapidly growing opportunity that you should have been targeting pre-COVID, but it's still growing. As everyone is home on lockdown and using desktop computers to work remote, the adult child decision maker is on a full screen device. You have huge opportunity here. That's where half of your audience is and growing by 150%. Let's talk about Google My Business. I have a few specifics here, but not every business understands why the Google My Business profile is so important. Google's priority is to keep all consumers in their ecosystem. They don't actually want someone navigating to your website. They want them very quickly finding the answer to their question in an ethical manner and then finding the resources within 1 or 2 clicks. Okay, so they want simple navigation, easily digestible data and information, and their ideal search is someone asking a question and getting an answer. So Google wants to be a magic genie. What Google really is, it's simply software. It's called a meta crawler, and it goes around the internet reading text. And Google owns YouTube. And so they take all of the videos and they transcribe them to text. And so really, that's all Google is. That's what a search engine is it reads all the text on your website and videos, and it decides what categories that relates to and what it's relevant to. And that is the complexity of their, all-knowing algorithm. So Google My Business, if they want you to spend more time in their ecosystem and see reviews of a business and engage with it locally and click that call button, it's free, and Google wants you to be using it. So they have been prioritizing it more and more. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a paid premium version released in the very near term. But they're using this as well for consistency. If you put a phone number on Google My Business and it doesn't match phone numbers that are utilized on your website or other directory listings, that can hurt you instead of helping you. Google My Business needs to match your website URL. It needs to match the services you provide. So this concept of a matchy, highly descriptive, free profile, it can drive multiple move-ins in very short periods of time. It will drive a lot of phone calls if properly optimized. And you can embed Google Maps and some technology called Schema that we'll discuss into your website so you show up more frequently in those local search results. So realize that Google is judging you by how well you're using their tools, and it directly impacts your rank. So play their game. Here are the action steps. And I shouldn't have to say this, but again, you'd be shocked how many of you do not have complete Google My Business profiles. They do add new features. So if you did this a year ago, it's not up to date. They've added specific COVID-19 updates, and you should be taking advantage of that. So keep your information current, especially if you're multi-location. Make sure it's the right phone number, the right address, the right service levels at each location. Conflicting information reflects poorly and will hurt you. It will affect your Google ranking. So the more matchy your website and your Google My Business profile are, the better. Don't leave out any data. So there's a few categories in here. You might say, we were going to do new photography, so I don't need to add photos right now. Yes, you do. You need to complete every possible field of information available to you on Google My Business. That is critical to your success right now. Missing data is a red flag to Google. Like, I guess they don't care about our free listing. I guess they don't need to rank for that thing then. Take advantage of multiple categories. This is a feature that Google did not always have, but adding another category. So maybe you have normal, independent living, assisted living, or CCRC, but maybe you've recently added memory care. Great. If you didn't add it to Google My Business, then nobody knows that. So therein lies your opportunity to add multiple categories, to utilize all of the fields available, and as well as to solicit and respond to reviews. If you have one happy resident, they've got multiple family members, you can ask them to leave their 2 cents on their loved one's experience with you. And so you can get multiple reviews, lots of good faith and good favor. And so your Google My Business profile becomes an ambassador, a high-ranking brand ambassador. So realize that you have data about your business, hours of operation, locations, COVID-19 protocols and updates. That's critical. But there's also topical data. You can post blog articles and social media posts to your Google My Business listing. You can see data on how others are interacting with your business and what they're looking for. You can do a lot of recruiting through Google My Business. You'll see a lot of interested candidates as well. So people that are struggling with staff turnover during COVID or nursing shortages, this is a super awesome free tool. Google My Business don'ts. Conflicting information. Okay. So if you have a different phone number, and please don't call all these numbers. The first one is our main line, but the second two are just 1-800-DAN-GEMP and 1-800-GEMP-DAN. So feel free to ignore those. But if there's conflicting information across your online presence, right? If your Google My Business phone number isn't in use on your website or vice versa, and same thing with any other citations, your Yellow Pages listing, your carrying.com listing, Google can see that. They're all knowing, all seeing. And so you really need to have these dedicated, ideally tracked phone numbers, right? Specifically for your marketing. And this innocent oversight, right? It's going to be seen by online reviewers as deceptive. It's like, that's odd. They want me to call this other phone number. I thought their phone number was this. And you don't see other retail businesses doing that, right? A pizza place has one phone number. A store has one phone number. So you do need to be very careful for this consistency. It impacts your search rankings and general consumer trust. You do not want to be perceived as deceptive during these times. It will cost you dearly. Do not leave out data. I'm going to say just about every senior care client we've taken on is guilty of this, okay? You forgot one thing, or you didn't have what you needed for one thing. Your Google My Business is like a test as far as Google is concerned. Fill it out completely. They'll be happier. You'll have pleased the Google gods. But it's a simple enough exercise, right? You can do this right now in an hour or two and be done with it. Some companies just never bother. They don't realize the value. They don't realize that over 30% of searches are going to result in a click on one of those Google My Business listings. Free traffic, free phone calls, one-time effort, and some consistency. So please complete your Google My Business profile. That is the reason I'm leading with this. This is one of many things that will get technical today. We're going into deep dive, but please realize the value. I'm saying it over and over and over again. It's that important. Don't just have one category. And I think this is, it's very interesting, right? So we are a web development, web design company, but also we're a digital marketing company, but also we're a graphic design and SEO and paid search company. So you guys need to be covering all of your levels of care. You need to be covering all of your locations, but these categories, Google will make you select a primary business category, but you can put in additional categories. So you might say senior living or assisted living as a primary, but you could add memory care. You could add wellness and lifestyle categories as well, about aging information. So leverage that. It is also a tool that Google uses, much like a card catalog at the libraries of old. They need to know what your site is about so that it can show up in search results more often for relevant terms. And I'll get into why that's so important in a bit.
Hey, Dan, can I interrupt you for one moment? We have
Of course.
I think is relevant in the chat here. So Libby's asking, near me is fairly new, but I think users are still using neighborhood town names in searches. Recently, I heard that we shouldn't waste keywords on neighborhood names because of near me. What are your thoughts?
I completely disagree. I believe that you should put a lot of efforts into town and county names. It doesn't need to be overkill, right? But oftentimes a simple blog article can cover that. Or in your normal content, you can say, if you're a senior living in Howard County, Maryland, possibly the Columbia area near our location, we've had move-ins recently from here, here, and here. So you can work it into your content without really being overzealous. In paid search, it's not as crucial. You can set a radius for your ads to run in. So don't worry about the near me as much in paid advertising, but your organic search presence, I think it's a crucial strategy. Someone doesn't necessarily have to type in near me. If you're on a mobile device, Google knows where you are. If you're on your home Wi-Fi, Google knows where you are. And so it will automatically add in those terms. It'll add in, if you say best pizza place, it will show you the best pizza place near you. So it is a dominant enough and increasing enough trend that you do need to be addressing it, in my opinion.
It looks like we have one more question here. How do we
Please.
keep all call tracking numbers the same?
So there are a few software tools we utilize, call tracking metrics for a lot of our campaigns. There are others like Marchex, CallRail that have great tools. You can put a designated call tracking number on all of your digital presence or on all of your listings for consistency. And as long as it's in the phone number pool that is used on your website, it will count. It will be okay. And I'm happy to, if you want to shoot me an email after this, I'll provide my contact info. I'm happy to give you the specifics if you have a custom setup. But a lot of those scripted, smart call tracking software tools are inexpensive, and they give you that resource. You can't have enough phone numbers, in my opinion, but they need to have a specific purpose. I would put a different phone number on a billboard, a different phone number on a brochure, and a different phone number for your digital listings and online presence. So before you're done on Google My Business, it's important to fill out all of the services, all of the product tabs as applicable. Don't just put a few, put in everything. This is going to help Google to better share your information for anyone typing in, possibly even initial searches, just looking for assessment tools. My mother had a slip and fall. I don't know where to begin. You can put those kinds of categories onto your Google My Business listing and cover that information on your website, and it will get you those early stage inquiries, which is really crucial right now to keeping a healthy pipeline and move-in opportunities, even a wait list. So this is a field that's going to be packed full of significant keywords, right? There aren't really that many variations consumers look for. There's the unsophisticated consumer just typing in nursing home, but there's not really that vast of a vocabulary for, assisted living, memory care. And so it's going to be significant. If you put all of the right services in your Google My Business profile, it will bear fruit. We're shifting now into the local search prioritization. So the map pack. The map pack is 3 local business results accompanied by a Google map showing locations, right? So when you do a search and you see that map show up, that's what I'm talking about here. The map and top organic results are the result of your Google My Business optimization. So someone that did a better job than you is going to see that. Is going to be featured above you, and the consumer is going to see that. Google My Business and your organic SEO work in tandem to dominate page 1. So those paid ads at the top get about 17% of the clicks. The map pack results in your Google My Business get about 1/3 of the clicks, so 30% plus. The top organic search result gets about 35% of the clicks, and then it dramatically decreases for the organic results below that. So the number 1 search result might get 35%, and number 2 might only get 12%. And being at the bottom of page 1, you might get 1% of the clicks. So it is, if you're being outranked by a lead aggregator, for example, at the local level, this is a pivotal strategy to make sure you're getting your own market share and that you're not just repurchasing your own market share from someone that's better than you at SEO. The map pack lives in its own universe, but it's not alone, okay? The map pack functions under its own Google algorithm. It has a separate database driving it. It's actually the same location database that powers the Waze, W-A-Z-E, navigation app. Google owns Waze, okay? So it's accurate enough for navigation, but it's got its own set of ranking rules. So elements like NAPS, that's name, address, phone number. This is why it's so important to be consistent in those phone numbers, as you guys were asking. It's the only factor in the map pack. There's not a ton of data to add, and so it needs to be relevant and accurate. For your actual calls through the internet, as many as 44% of your calls can come through that result, that little phone icon. Search doesn't have to involve a specific city or state to show those local results. So as I was just saying, if someone is just physically located nearby, Google knows that, and you will see your local results. Unless you're browsing in incognito, super stealthy mode, and you've got firewall settings on your home Wi-Fi, you're going to see local results most of the time. So it really depends. Google is going to decide whether or not a local result is appropriate. If you're searching for Super Bowl tickets, you're not likely to see any localized search results. But if you just search for football tickets, you might find your local team showing up first. And it isn't a replacement for SEO. This is a supplement. So this is data that Google has about your company, and they pair it with your domain name, your URL. And so myseniorlivingwebsite.com, right, paired with a search for senior communities near me, if they see my website in those listings, I'm just going to get more. It is the equivalent of real estate on the internet. You've now got a physical address, and you've got a lot of land, and you have a building on it. There's just more ways for your information to be found. So this local organic result, it doesn't have the same visibility of the map pack because it often shows up below it. These organic search results are showing up beneath the local results. Your on-page SEO strategy informs that local search result. So why was I saying that you need to actually spend time on the town and county and city levels? Because your entire website will rank higher as a result, and the Google Maps pack will show up more frequently. You'll be top of mind more often. And your local results are strongly affected by how well your website ranks and how well you're doing on reviews. You need a lot of reviews. You need to actually respond to them. That is a ranking factor in those local results, how many of them or what percentage of them you have replied to. And generally, a 5-star rating would be superior to a 4-star rating. It's not as dramatic as you would think, but it matters. So let's shift over to this SEO, right? So I prioritized Google My Business and local as things you can do right now that this industry does a poor job of. And hopefully you're in a great spot there and you've really leveraged that. We have seen it be a pivotal tool during COVID. I'll show you some stats on that in a while. I'll show you the before and after. So this is all, again, general trending, and then we're going to dive into the tactical. So our senior living community website.com. How do we engage in effective search engine optimization, and how does it drive traffic to your website? So search engines have one purpose. They read your website, right? And they make certain that websites and search results have value for you, that it is the right answer to the right question. SEO is the science of making that happen. It is content marketing. So SEO helps Google make critical decisions about your website's value and relevancy to the search. How much authority does your site have? And you've had this experience before. You've all probably seen highly authoritative websites like WebMD, right? And that's because any symptom you ever type into the internet about the common cold all the way up through COVID, it's got content on WebMD. It is just a massive publisher. The lead aggregators in this industry, you've seen their TV commercials, you see them dominating search results. You can beat them on a local level without much trouble, but they're good at that. They're primarily doing SEO. They're not primarily spending paid search budget. They're doing mixed media and organic SEO, and they are large-scale publishers of content. For you, that just means plenty of blogging. So the equation couldn't actually be simpler. I'm trying to simplify Google itself as a tool that reads text. So the more text you have and the more relevant it is, the better. And they want you to stay in their ecosystem of their tools and suites. And so they prioritize things like YouTube and Google My Business. I hope that makes sense. But the equation for better SEO on your website, better on-page SEO, is actually very simple. As I alluded to earlier, it's page naming convention, first and foremost. So instead of having our services and about us, it can be senior living services and about our senior community. If you feel that certain phrases are too long, you may use synonyms, and Google uses them. They know that it's a synonym. So senior care is the same as senior living. Even the sections of your website, proper titling, Google reads a title as an H1 meta tag title, as a heading, right? So just like the chapter in a book, in the table of contents of a book, when Google's reading your website, it reads the headings on the content sections of your site, and it ranks it accordingly. So let's pair this up with the local search. I'm telling you that the biggest opportunity for you, an actual growth opportunity for you during COVID, is to fully capture your local market share online. This is critical. It is a wise investment and it's cost efficient. The mobile website is a necessity. You must be mobile first, and I will show you why, but most visitors view websites on mobile. It's that simple, okay? If I am sitting in a hospital and my mom just had a slip and fall, I am actively making a medical decision and a lifestyle decision on my phone while I'm sitting there. Google prefers mobile, okay? So this shift already happened years ago. Most American consumers were using the internet through a mobile device. That has long since passed. It is wildly more than most. Look at your own, look on your iPhone at the hours of utilization of your phone and compare it to how often, how much time you spend on a desktop on the internet. So your website needs to appease both audiences in appearance and functionality, okay? So great job, you made multiple font sizes to address, seniors navigating your website, and it's super friendly with great photography and images, but the mobile version of your site is an antiquated HTML template. You just lost most of your audience. So realize formatting and function are tremendously important on mobile. A simple to use menu, okay? So picture your own parents and grandparents navigating this site, and they are. It should be very easy for them to use. So websites that aren't mobile friendly, you're going to lose business. It is actually a detriment. It is hurting you than those that are leading with mobile search. I chose this screenshot very intentionally. I just did a local search and I found a place in Annapolis on the left, and it is an old HTML website. And I think if it were updated, they would see way, way, way more inquiries. And the site on the site on the right, you're probably familiar with the brand that has, it's aesthetically pleasing. It has a simple navigation menu. There are only 2 buttons I can push. As I scroll down, there's more imagery. So both of these locations made it to the Google local map pack. They both were prevalent local results. They are options for me. Which one would you click? The antiquated HTML site or the user-friendly with a COVID announcement at the top, prettier website? So we really are talking about retail marketing, okay? And then getting people to engage you in dialogue in a 2-way conversation. So when everything in life goes virtual, you need to be able to highlight your community virtually. Okay, so now we're addressing the local community, the free tools that you can use, the methodology, be mobile first and make sure that you're talking to the right person on the right device. But now, how do we leverage technology, okay, to address the current environment that most likely won't change soon? And I meant that specifically. You should be generating actual virtual tours, virtual reality, so that people can, from a remote perspective, navigate, lifestyle at your facility or community. Pay-per-click advertising, okay? How do we engage in dialogue through pay-per-click advertising? Well, if they just took a tour remote and they saw your community, and then they're searching for someone else, they want options in their shopping. Your pay-per-click ads can intercept that person very quickly. So here's what paid search does well and what it doesn't do well. You can turn on a campaign tomorrow. It can be effective immediately. It builds awareness. So you're only paying when an ad gets clicked, but it might be viewed 10,000 times and clicked on a few hundred times. And so there is brand value and brand recognition in that, that broadcast method. It's a large audience, okay? So there are a whole lot of people on Google right now searching for senior care that way. Paid search will drive traffic in volume, and it will address a variety of platforms. So your ads can run as text or display on smartphones, on computers. It's highly effective. That's where Google makes all of their money, and it's a lot of money. And it's good for nurturing leads as well. So anyone that has shown interest previously or they're part of your email nurturing efforts, there are limitations on this, but you can engage in retargeting through a few different platforms to stay top of mind and show up whenever someone might be assessing your competitors. Here's what paid search doesn't do well. And there's a lot of confusion on this in the industry of organic SEO compared to paid search. You're only renting it. So the day you stop spending, there is no residual value. Whereas with organic SEO, you're producing content, you're generating videos and blog articles and page content. Your site is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is a semi-permanent footprint. It builds an equity value just like the payments on your mortgage. SEO is the principal, PPC is the interest, okay? So it is expensive. It is an increased cost. Google is an auction, so the price only goes up over time. And there are some big spenders, some large centralized marketing groups that you're competing with. So it's not really a long-term solution. It might be something you need to do for throttle control. If you have census challenges right now, I recommend dramatically increasing that budget. And think about this, even if it cost thousands of dollars to generate a move-in, it's still cost effective. So as the industry becomes more competitive online, it's a critical part of your strategy, but I wouldn't rely only on paid search. I've seen groups fail at this pretty spectacularly. And you're going to get unqualified leads as well. So with organic search, you can put in qualifying terms and keywords, words like private, words like luxury, and it appeals to certain demographics and household income levels and such, or vice versa. But through paid search, you're just going to get everyone, qualified and unqualified. So, and you can target a little better than that. I'm generalizing, but that's a risk. Organic SEO. This is both content marketing, so just good old fashioned blogging, and this is where the industry often falls short, highly technical web development. So you might have an amazing marketing person on your team and you're blogging phenomenal insights every day and you're completely on top of this COVID thing and you guys are awesome. If you don't have these things, your site still won't rank very well, and they're not expensive, and oftentimes they're one-time things. You program them into your website and you outrank everybody else forever. I often make the joke that in SEO, you don't have to outrun the bear chasing you. You just have to outrun the person behind you. So you don't need to do overkill with your website. You don't need to overinvest in organic content marketing. You just need to put all of the best practices in place. And if your competitor that's outranking you right now, if they don't have all of these things and you do, then you'll find yourself outranking them very quickly for everything, for all categories of keywords. So let's start with schema. We're getting into the technical stuff here, and I'm going to accelerate this a bit. But schema is when Google finishes your sentence for you, right? When you're doing a search and you type in senior living and it adds the word community, that is schema in play. If you're typing in shiny red, it's either going to be sports car or Apple, right? And so schema is how the human brain categorizes, descriptors and objects, so adjectives and nouns. So for search engines to crawl your website, now it knows all the words on your site, but they have to categorize it. Google has been using schema to fuel both location-based searches and question and answer format content. So your site could rank for a much more broad set of keywords. You might only have content about senior living, but once the schema is programmed into your website, Google would know it's also about senior care and assisted living and things like that. Synonyms.
Hey, Dan, we have a couple questions here. Do you mind if we address those? Yeah, so the first one here is on how does whiteboards MP4 count same as photos, videos?
Sure. So whiteboard style content, if you upload it to YouTube, okay, and I highly recommend using that specific format, it is then the same as video. If you're just putting MP4 straight on your website, it is actually not as valuable as embedding its YouTube equivalent on your website. And happy to answer that, in specific after as well. But that concept, even having presentations and PowerPoints on your website, it is more valuable converted to YouTube format and embedded that way because it automatically does that text transcription. Otherwise, you should include a text document or article to support that.
Great. And then there was one other question on the phone number piece again. So how can you use different phone numbers on marketing collateral, but then you said to use the same phone number on Google My Business? Won't that be inconsistent?
No, Google can only look online. Google will only look on the internet. Okay. It's okay. I realize I said across all of your stuff. So the consumer trust, if they go to your website and see a phone number that's not the same as Yellow Pages, for example, then they'll think that the Yellow Pages listing is outdated or your website is outdated. If your brochure has a dedicated phone line, Google's not seeing that. They're not actually looking at that. It's printed and it's out in the real world. So do think of, your call tracking and phone number utilization on the internet as one contained bucket, and all of your other phone number tracking as something that Google can't see. It's outside of the matrix.
Got it. Thank
Sure. And keep coming with the questions. Website backlinking. So again, the more credible websites that are not yours that link back to yours, the better. I'm oversimplifying that content, but you should be sharing your content on these other sites. Your website load speed, okay? It'll never be 100% if you're using Google's tools, that's okay. 50%, 60% is fine. But using PHP 7, so those of you that are familiar with HTML, it's just the latest and greatest version of HTML. It's a scripting language. It's WordPress, right? The most recent WordPress sites are built with PHP 7. Your website, if I built an identical website to yours using PHP 7, it would load 2 to 3 times faster. And that is a ranking factor on Google. They want quick answers to quick questions. 75% more efficiency. So it will allow you to use less lines of code and accomplish the same thing. And it is favored by WordPress, which is the most common web platform on the planet. Most web developers and most marketers prefer it. Content relevancy. So Google has evolved beyond simply a keyword, right? Your site needs to be optimized for entire subjects, for relevancy. And so you need to use terms synonymously. Senior care and senior living need to appear on your website, even if the keyword you're trying to get a page ranking for is senior living specifically. And then the Google Data Suite. So Google Analytics, Google Search Console, these are free tools that tell you what people are doing. So all the stuff I'm sharing with you, it's not my opinion, it's not a guess. When I talk about mobile traffic, we're tracking mobile traffic. It's most of your traffic. You can see how long people spend on certain pages of your site and if your content is relevant and that sort of thing. CRM and call tracking integration. So here's why you want it. When you integrate call tracking technology with your CRM, your senior living community will reap the benefits by enabling you to keep track of important conversations. So don't lose a lead, even one lead, one inquiry right now that doesn't get a follow-up. That's a missed movement. That's going to hurt your census. And it was easier before COVID. And so every single inquiry matters, and you need to really be tracking it, providing additional information, lead nurturing campaigns. But realize that the distance between a lead and a move-in is defined on a CRM, right? Once defined, it can be reduced. So you can accelerate your sales cycle. You can get move-ins sooner, better, stronger matches. And that's going to give you, an enhanced relationship with the caller. Okay, so a prospective resident, an adult child decision maker, they're calling you. It's almost a disservice. You're almost obligated to use this technology to track and follow up with them, to provide better resources, to be an educational partner. So your CRM would already have a vast amount of information, but you can automate that now. When your phone rings, it can automatically create that new record in your CRM. By adding call tracking, you can know exactly who called and from where. You can add a loved one to that record in CRM. And so you just have way better business intelligence, and the result will be a higher close rate of inquiry to move-in at a reduced timeline. And we've been seeing that happen. The groups that were prepared for digital marketing have seen that happen. Decreased move-in timelines, increased appreciation for those resources. What can it do? So I talk about business intelligence and this tracking information. It can give you the roadmap to fuel the rest of your marketing, right? Where are my calls coming from? You'll know that information in real time, right? Are they coming from Google My Business or my brochure? Are people even scheduling tours? No, but the average time on my virtual tour page is over 4 minutes, which means people are actually walking around the entire building. Cool, that was a good investment. And so it's going to empower you to associate these recorded calls, with the prospective resident decision maker and the conversation you had. The notes will be in there, the call will be recorded. It's all available to you for follow-up and accuracy. Creating and editing new leads every time an event occurs in Google Analytics can be automated. So anytime someone downloads a brochure or fills out a contact form, you can automate that and track it in Google Analytics and even assess an average dollar value to that. So if you close 1 in 10 deals, or inquiries, and the average move-in value is X dollars, then you know that it's 1/10 of those dollars for every inquiry on Google. Adding call-related information to your existing workflows. So you can actually rate calls. In a lot of these softwares, you can give it a 3 stars for quality or 5 stars for quality in terms of the inquiries matched to your levels of care. You can get a clearer sense of what people are focused on. And we've got a lot of data from these calls and from this tracking that tell us COVID is a concern. It's in the top 10, but it is not one of the top 5 decision-making criteria. It is still ability to pay, location, visitation policies, a little bit amenities, but not as much as you'd think. It's primarily food service, and then COVID. So you'll get that data, and then instead of being reactionary, you can be very, very proactive into where to allocate your marketing dollars. And you're going to get a much more complete idea of a prospect's journey from phone call to move-in. What you need to remember. So effective call tracking in CRM empowers you to see every single lead in this central location. So you need that master dashboard, business intelligence. Your call information can automatically be populated. You can then build out workflows so you can figure out how to optimize that journey for faster move-ins. Give the data to convert prospects faster. So who converted quickly and what did you say to them? Let's make sure everyone is consistently marketing that same message. You can carefully analyze your phone calls. It might be your employee who's the weak point. Maybe it's you and you're unaware that every time you make a joke on the phone, you're offending someone, right? So I think that you can really evolve your move-in process, the actual sales process that you engage in. As I mentioned, using retail keywords to get someone to your website, you can refine your retail sales process because you're just not going to see these in-person walk-in tours happening anymore. This is going to allow you to pinpoint which digital marketing campaigns are working and which tools are worth your time. I do see more chats we can cover in a moment here, but I want to make sure that I cover the rest of this quickly, and then we can do Q&A for a while. So how does the pandemic affect your digital marketing strategies? It has changed everything, okay? Seniors now have the most compelling reason ever to decline a move-in, okay? It would theoretically expand the sales cycle, but they don't necessarily have the resources for aging in place or home care, or they'll realize that the cost is comparable in many cases. Declines in occupancy as prospective residents delay or altogether cancel their move. That has been a reality, but it has primarily impacted the groups that weren't ready for this digital migration. Amenities that were selling points, right? Hey, come on in, you get to be with people all the time. We have groups and games and lifestyle activities. It's awesome. That's not a selling point anymore. That's a potential COVID infection issue, a super spreader event. And then traditional walk-in tours are really just not viable right now. They're less prevalent. So what's changing? Well, the good news is you have a completely captive audience now. The pandemic and lockdowns force people into specific viewing behavior, and that's where you market to them. That's where you get them. PCs, desktop computers, and laptops are being viewed way more because everybody's working remote. So they are on a full-size screen more than ever, more than in several years. So as a result, good old-fashioned display ads and banner ads are working again. And so that's a channel many of you tried and lost faith in, but it's working now. So try that. Organic SEO requires fresh and timely content, but people are actually reading it. The average time on a blog page has increased about 20% during COVID. People are researching more. So COVID-specific updates and getting your website to rank higher for those things are critical, and it shows how dedicated you are to keeping your community safe. And that is a decision-making factor. It also shows how dedicated you are to keeping your staff safe, and that's a recruiting factor. So there's a double win in that. And paid ads have become even more hyper-localized due to the minimalized desire for travel. So maybe I'll move to Florida. Maybe I'll move near my son because I live near my daughter. Those things are less of an option. It's no, I'm going to stay where I am. I don't want to get in an airplane and contract COVID. So this captive audience concept is not necessarily good for people, but it is good for marketing and your targeting efforts. How should your digital marketing change specifically? So Google My Business, I've said enough about that, but your social media positioning should change. You're now a community resource more so than a lifestyle and amenities pitch. And so it's not as much photos of a fun activity, but photos of people being social with the proper safety precautions in place, wearing masks, show your residents playing a game of bridge, but with plexiglass on the table, keeping them safe. Whatever that looks like to you is where your social media needs to head. And paid ads are working pretty well on social media right now, when historically they were so-so. Videos are crucial. Videos are going to spark that two-way conversation. It will be relatable. It will demonstrate safety. And what you're going to see is that engagement, that opportunity to have someone watch your entire video and then ask questions. So your social media needs to shift to dialogue. Instead of posting something broadcast style, ask something. What would make you feel safe? Here's something we're doing, right? Here's a video from our CEO or executive director about our safety precautions and protocols. Do you have any questions? So now you have opportunity for engagement and more of your prospective residents' time. You should discuss virtual events and tours for prospective residents and how they work. How do you schedule one? Will you send me a little virtual reality headset, or do I have to have one? How does that work? So the logistics are good content for social media. And then publishing your safety protocols. You can't just have an announcement that we care about COVID. What if you've had no infections at all? I haven't seen anybody posting, we have had 0 cases among staff or residents, so it's completely safe for you to move in right now. In fact, when you move in, we're going to somewhat quarantine you for a few days and make sure and give you a test. So link to the COVID pages of your website from your social media way more frequently than you think you should. It's not overkill right now. It's highly relevant. And COVID started, but living didn't stop. So do a search after this. Search for senior living on YouTube, and it's not pretty, okay? You need positive videos. You're gonna find just news article after news article after news article, people talking about the horror and the fears and the mistakes of states and governors and leading to widespread COVID deaths. Life didn't stop. And so the outcomes in senior living and the fun in your communities is newsworthy. Make and share positive videos, staff members singing, entertainment. I've just seen phenomenal content coming out of your actual staff members during all of this. No or low COVID-19 cases. You can advertise that on video. Say, hey, these are the protocols we have in place. And the result is we haven't had a single case of COVID since March. That's highly relevant news. That's press-worthy news. And feature your staff members going above and beyond. I can't tell you how many of you have the amazing ability to sing and play the guitar and play the piano. I don't think any other industry has talent like that. So feature your staff going above and beyond. And that is pivotal both for recruiting and for trust. So video, video, video. Also consider changing your photography to be more modern and relevant. So you might have photos of residents playing bridge. You need to update that to a photo of residents wearing a mask playing bridge with plexiglass dividers. And then maybe switch it back in the future if that's not an issue down the road. Here are your marketing action steps. Direct more budget and time towards developing your digital outreach, your digital presence versus in-person tours. That's not going to be an option for a while. Create fresh content, both written and video, and multiply its value by posting to Google My Business, social media channels, and YouTube specifically, okay? Those MP4 files, for example. Digital marketing as a channel was largely unaffected, okay? So we did not see declines in inquiries from digital marketing since the start of COVID. We have seen increases, some dramatic. So compared to your traditional marketing segments, your approach and messaging need to be timely because it's digital and you can change it over and over again. Take advantage of the fact that you have this captive audience. You know what device they're on, you know where they are, especially the adult child decision maker. They're easier to target now than they were previously through traditional marketing. So therefore, you've become an educational partner. You need to provide educational messaging, safety resources, public service announcement style content, and feature your staff. That's the only thing that's really going to alleviate fear and demonstrate respect. And that's this critical part of hospitality meets healthcare. So that content will help you become a publisher and do more digital content. dealing with COVID-19 in the post-COVID world. So the pandemic has likely changed the business model for all senior living communities, at least for the foreseeable future. And I mean several years, not, hey, mid-year there'll be a vaccine and it goes back to normal. Digital is the new normal. I hate that term, but it's how you're going to be engaging with your prospective residents from now on. Home care has become extremely attractive. And so now you're having potential competition with channels that you weren't competing with before. You may need solutions for that. You may need to get into home care or something, or else your marketing messaging needs to compete with it and explain why residential care is a safer and better option. To counter that, you need to be prepared to market aggressively. There is real competition now. It's not just if you build it, the baby boomers will come. It is now, highly competitive, and the digital landscape is about to become highly competitive. So if you don't step up your game, you will lose market share online. And becoming a publisher to communicate the advantages of your lifestyle options and levels of care. You need way, 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 way more content on your website, video and text. The blog is the best place to put a ton of text content. Question and answer format is the most useful format, as opposed to like top 10 reasons kind of articles. And it pleases the Google gods. So the senior community dilemma that needs to be solved going forward is it's marketing the lifestyle options, right? Being reliant on imagery and stock photos and active seniors being happy and having parties. Those all predominantly show social interaction. And we're in this period of social isolation and distancing. So much of your previous marketing, you might need to review it. It might be wildly inappropriate showing people dancing and hugging. And I know that seems distasteful because that's what you want them to be doing. But showing safety is actually going to be more relevant right now than showing that lifestyle interaction. Showing people interacting with PPE is highly valuable. So your marketing collateral needs to be updated. Your staff photos should be updated. Consider the concept of showing staff members, and then when you mouse over their picture, it shows them with and without a mask. Again, just little subtle dedications to safety. And then your family engagement methods are going to be different. Families are scared more than seniors about their loved one moving in. They've already got the guilt that they're putting mom in the home. And that's been a challenge you're used to overcoming and having that conversation about your family is our family. But now you need to appease their fears in a different way, predominantly through digital communication, because you don't get to meet the family members anymore face to face. So think about how you're going to use Zoom meetings and visual communication and offer up FaceTime meetings with your sales and marketing personnel. And then create social media content in conjunction with residents and families. Have them ask you questions. Have an open house during certain hours on Facebook Live, and people can ask you questions live via video. That is powerful content. There's a lot you can do with that to show how high tech your operation has become. And using digital marketing to reflect these new realities, right? As these changes occur, the smaller separated neighborhoods and other options and other business models that may compete with larger operations, as these changes occur, aspects of your marketing are not only going to be out of date, but they're going to start working against you, right? So your branding may need to change significantly, and your messaging may need to change completely. So keep that in mind, that this is a tear down of the old ways and a reimagining of how you communicate the benefits of your programs, your wellness, your lifestyle, and just life in general. The tools that were optional before are now a must. Live chat is a must. Assessment tools on your website are a must. And the good news is these things aren't terribly expensive. So virtual reality tours, you're late to the party if you don't have one already. They're not difficult to shoot. Video content. You could do a one-day shoot with a few key staff members. They could all bring multiple shirts and jackets and such, and that gives you a year's worth of content. So video content, but it can be done with an iPhone and a simple, sincere approach. Social media content, again, it needs to be content to engage in dialogue instead of broadcast, and local search. The next normal. So when the landscape changes, and you are here, right? New circumstances are presented, but the market demand and the population in need of your care has not diminished at all, okay? And so we can't panic. We need to reassess, pivot, and see what the path to victory looks like. Based on these new variables, everything I'm throwing at you today, we're just talking about tactics, a little bit of different approach to CRM and call tracking, a few different tools to use on your website, but you should have been looking at those things anyway as the next logical progression. They've just accelerated in importance. And the new marketing normal was always coming, right? So maybe it accelerated all in a short period of time, but over the next 2 or 3 years, this was all going to happen anyway. Okay, Google is already dominant. It is the #1 referral source for new move-ins. So don't let the lead aggregators fool you. Google is the group that you need to please and give your money and time and resources to. Sweeping changes, they're going to change the world forever. Okay, this post-pandemic world, it's just been an accelerator. But your websites should have always been good and up to date. They should have been mobile friendly. They should have had a strong impact on your social media. But all of these are simply new vehicles to deliver your message, and you simply need to refine your message slightly. So if properly used and consistently used, these tools are going to gain comfort. It's going to show familiarity. You're going to demonstrate the exact same lifestyle, but with PPE in place, and that gives people comfort and alleviates their fear. And it's going to help you to manage and overcome these new obstacles. Digital can be easier. Digital can be cheaper. You just have to learn a little bit more about it, but it's going to reveal the new path to success because you can track the interactions with a website much more easily than you can track the interactions of a brochure or the eye contact of an in-person visit. And so these tools have changed, but your messaging of safety, care, comfort, and value, that will still be the core of your pitch. One-sided conversation is dead. I've already killed this point and would love to wrap up. And here's the result. Here's what happens. This is not me bragging. I'm simply showing you. In already existing 2-location, 154 resident property, they expanded their digital tactics in all of the ways I'm sharing and just started in May. So almost too late, right? They did see census declines and said, hey, we got to get going, generally a suburban area. And their first location saw a 106% increase in organic sessions, 162% increase in Google My Business phone calls, actual inquiries, 145% increase in clicks. So I'm not talking about slight changes and slight adjustment. I am talking about sea change and pivotal tactics to your success. Second location, same tactics, but it saw over 200% increases in those same categories. It did go from being outranked by 2 of the large lead aggregators at a local level to being the #1 search result for those local keywords and search terms. And that is what I believe led to this success. So connect with us, build your digital marketing toolkit. I'm happy to provide, this presentation is available to all of you, but I'm happy to provide custom insights for free and just help the community. I think it's important for us to be a resource to all of you. We're local, we're in Columbia, Maryland. So I am happy to give advice where it's useful. I can send you some white papers and other presentations, but we want to make sure that we're supporting all of you. And you will see us around when we do get to meet in person again. By all means, I'm looking forward to it. And if you want a deeper dive on some of these other tools and resources, we did have a bunch of digital organizations, some of these live chat and assessment tool providers present recently at the Senior Care Digital Marketing Conference. That's all completely free content. And so the best way to keep learning and the conversation going forward is, engage with us, connect on LinkedIn with each other, and really keep an eye on what each other are doing in your marketing. So with that said, let's talk through some questions here.
Thank you so much, Dan. That was an incredibly comprehensive and detailed and insightful presentation. So, and folks, I meant to mention at the beginning of this that Dan did make these slides available, and so we will get them out to everyone. So don't worry if you weren't able to jot down every note. We will share those as a PDF with you all. We do have a question here. Going back to the phone numbers again, this is a hot topic.
Sure.
Just to be clear, all the phone numbers on the website, regardless whether it's promoting AL, IL, or memory care, should be the same number.
Yes, but a lot of these call tracking tools, so yes, a lot of the call tracking tools have a dynamic phone number changing script. So you will put the same phone number, the same direct number on all of your websites and all of your digital, but the software that I referenced, Call Tracking Metrics and MarChex and CallRail, it will magically change the phone number on your website based on whether somebody gets there through an organic search or a paid ad. They will actually see a different phone number, but you only really put in that one consistent number. So yes, you will use the same number. Magic software that is compliant and compatible with Google will help you attribute those leads to different marketing channels.
Great, thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
Are there other questions for Dan?
Awesome. No questions means I answered everything, right?
Yeah, I got a comment from someone saying, great presentation, thank you. So Dan, we so appreciate your time. And if folks would like to connect with Dan or learn more about anything that he shared today, we can connect you. Oh, thanks for saying that, Christina. She said she'll watch the presentation again and again.
Awesome.
Well, we appreciate that feedback, Christina. Yeah, if there, so are there any other questions related to, okay, here's a question about blogging. How often should someone be posting in their blog?
Sure. So the critical part about blogging is how frequently you do it. So Google likes to see fresh content added on a continuous basis. So I would say at least once a week, right? Consistently launched that way, probably 2 to 3 times weekly if you're able. And you can outsource that function to freelancers and marketing groups and such to write them for you. And ideally, they will be question and answer style content or COVID specific these days. I did see a question about word count. It is still about 500 words, about 400 to 600 words is still an average blog. If that isn't ranking well, then go back and add to it. You can re-optimize that blog. And a super dominant page would be about 1,200 words. That would be overkill, 10x kind of an effort.
Thanks for the feedback, Diane. She says, one of the best presentations on digital marketing I've seen. Thank you.
Thanks.
Christina's asking about vlogs. So how do video blogs fit in here?
Sure. So what I would do is pair your video blog with your articles, right? So if you have a great video, you can transcribe it to text and that can be your blog article, right? So embed the YouTube video and then copy and paste the text. Or write an article about a certain topic and record a short 1 to 2 minute video kind of as an overview of that topic and just embed it on that exact page. A good example, we wrote an article about white hat SEO and then made a video about it and embedded it on that page of our site. And we rank really well for that term and any of the industries we serve.
Great. Should we prioritize video in the blog? I think maybe you addressed that a little bit.
Yeah, and I would use it to pair with the blog. So the same topic, short video, that will be sufficient, but Google loves videos. You do want the title and the description of that video to have keywords in it that you'd like that page to rank for.
So what about, how can I find the text transcript from our YouTube videos?
Google it. It's readily available, but that's a loaded question. And there's also some tools that will automatically do that for you. But if you Google that, it'll show you with a picture how to get that text.
Is there any question that Google can't answer?
No. My business partner is our chief technology officer, and he jokes that he's going to build our employees a website one day, and it's just going to be his picture with a Google search bar in it. And he says, go ahead, ask me anything.
That's so funny. Great questions, everyone. And I loved your practical ideas, Dan, about ways to kind of refresh your imagery and your videos, reflecting what life is like in your community right now. Are you seeing, I know a lot of members rely on stock photos and things for different parts of their website, perhaps. Are you seeing, the stock photo options keep up with?
They are, yeah. Just recently, it took a few months, but stock photos are keeping up. I'll use overly stereotypical images, but a couple playing shuffleboard or something, right? The new images would have them wearing rubber gloves, and you'll actually see like a Purell pump in the background. So it's subtle, but it's keeping up. And then otherwise you could stage some of those things, just stage 4 or 5 scenes in your own community and have employees and a few willing residents kind of act that out for you.
That's great.
Things have gotten weird. Times are weird.
I know. Things we never thought we would be trying to highlight on our websites, but
I'm not actually at my office right now. I'm actually next to my living room.
anything's possible these days.
Anything's possible. Yep.
Well, Dan, this has been incredibly helpful. I feel like we could do a whole day on this. So we will definitely come back to you to do some speaking at future events. Any kind of closing thoughts for folks as we're closing out today?
Nothing too crazy. I guess just really, really prioritize digital marketing. It is the one channel that's working right now normally and growing. And everything else is a bit, up in the air still. So do realize that COVID is not the end of this. People need you. So put out the word that you're available and safe.
Yeah. Great message to end there. So folks, we are out of time for the day, but I'm happy to still set up some breakout rooms if folks want to spend another 15 minutes or so in discussion. So you will see in your Zoom, you can either click yes or no. If you would like to stay and have some additional discussion, would you please hit yes so that I can see how many folks are interested in sticking around for a bit longer. And if we have enough interest, we'll certainly do some additional discussion. Or you can type it in the chat.
I just threw my email address in the chat if anybody needs it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Dan.
Sure. Anyone else? Happy to stick around, happy to take off.
Yeah, it looks like folks are likely jumping off.
Awesome. Thank you all for your time. We appreciate it. And
thank you so much, Dan. It was fantastic.
Thank you all. Have a great one.
That was great.
That was,
Yeah, it was really good.
yeah, I was afraid he wasn't going to talk about that CRM thing because that's everything. Every time we do something, talk about CRM, talk about CRM. I was like, okay, so he did the gamut, so that's good.
It was great.
Yeah, I got lots of good comments in the chat from people.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
He could talk. I think he could talk all day, and his voice is like perfect to listen to.
Yeah.
He could have like talked all day long. It's like he needs a water break.
Oh shoot, I'm still recording. You guys.
Are you kidding? Okay, did you unrecord it? Did you do you put it